Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on one of the most important but maybe least visible parts of our entire economy, wholesaling. You can think of it as the hidden engine that gets pretty much everything you own from some factory somewhere into your hands. So let's dive in and see how it all really works.
I mean, really think about that for a second. That specific brand of coffee you love, that phone charger you had to grab, that fresh loaf of bread, it almost feels like magic, right? But it's not. It's this incredibly complex global dance, and right at the heart of it all are the wholesalers. They are the answer to this massive logistical puzzle.
So, what's their role exactly? Well, wholesalers are the essential middlemen of the supply chain. They are the absolute critical link connecting the people who actually make the products and the places where you and I buy them.
And without that link, the whole chain just breaks. Seriously, the entire system of modern retail as we know it would grind to a halt. Small shops couldn't possibly stock their shelves, and big manufacturers would have no efficient way to reach all their customers.
Okay, so let's get a really clear definition here. It's super easy to get wholesalers and retailers mixed up, but their jobs are fundamentally different, and it all really just comes down to scale.
Here it is in a nutshell. Picture this. A manufacturer might churn out 1 million t-shirts. A wholesaler swoops in and buys, say, 100,000 of them. Then, they turn around and sell those in smaller batches, maybe 1,000 at a time, to all sorts of different retail stores.
And this table here, it lays out the key difference perfectly. Wholesalers sell to other businesses. That's what we call a B2B, or business-to-business model. Retailers, on the other hand, sell directly to us, the consumers. That's B2C. It's the reason you're not going to find a wholesaler's warehouse in your local shopping mall. They operate completely behind the scenes.
Now, check this out, because it's a little counterintuitive. You'd think adding a middleman would always make the price go up, right? Well, a lot of the time, it's actually the opposite. See, because wholesalers buy in such massive volumes, they get huge discounts from manufacturers. They can then pass some of those savings onto smaller retailers who could never afford to buy that much on their own. This lets the little shops compete and can actually keep the final price lower for you, the consumer. Kind of wild, huh?
Now, the world of wholesaling isn't one size fits all, not at all. There are a bunch of different types, and each one plays a really specific role. So let's take a quick tour of the major players in the game.
So, the first big distinction is between full-service and limited-service wholesalers. Your full-service folks handle everything: the buying, the storing, the transporting, even offering credit to retailers. They take on a lot more risk, but they provide the whole shebang. Limited-service wholesalers, as the name suggests, do less, but they often make up for it with better prices.
A perfect example of a full-service wholesaler is a specialty wholesaler like Cisco. They don't sell everything under the sun. They focus specifically on food and food service supplies. Their clients are huge operations, think hospitals, schools, and big restaurant chains that need a super reliable, specialized partner to handle all their complex supply needs.
All right, now for a limited service example that I guarantee you've seen. You ever notice that little spinning rack of phone chargers or sunglasses at a gas station or a grocery store? That's almost certainly a rack jobber. They own the product and the display, and they just pay the store a cut of whatever sells. For the store, it's basically free money from items they'd never bother to stock themselves.
This next one is huge in the world of e-commerce, the dropshipper. A dropshipper might run a cool-looking online store and sell all sorts of products, but here's the secret: they never actually touch the inventory. When you place an order, they just forward it to the original supplier, who then ships the product directly to your door. The dropshipper takes on very little risk since they don't have to buy and store any stock.
And finally, think about how fresh bread or milk gets to your local corner store every single day. That's often the work of a truck jobber. These folks literally drive a route with a small inventory of perishable goods right on the truck. This lets them take an order from a store and deliver it on the spot. It's a super fast, super efficient model for products that just can't sit around in a warehouse.
But, this whole system, as efficient as it is not without its problems. The world of wholesaling today is navigating some pretty immense pressures.
For one thing, globalization means intense competition from all over the world. We've all seen firsthand just how fragile global supply chains can be when something like a pandemic hits. On top of that, you've got this maze of complex, constantly changing regulations, plus the constant, expensive need to keep up with new technology. It's a real perfect storm of challenges.
Historically, the main rule in commerce was caveat emptor,
which is just a fancy Latin phrase for let the buyer beware. It basically meant if you bought something, it was at your own risk. But that idea? It's been completely flipped on its head by a new reality of consumer protection.
And a huge part of that new reality is something called product traceability. That's the ability to follow a product's entire journey, from its most basic raw materials all the way to your house. This isn't just a nice-to-have anymore. Today's consumers are demanding to know where their stuff comes from and whether it's been sourced ethically.
And here's a perfect example of why this is so critical. You might remember the ground beef recall back in 2022. Because of traceability, authorities could pinpoint the exact production lots that were contaminated. This allowed them to do a super targeted recall, removing only the dangerous product instead of forcing a massive, wasteful disposal of all ground beef everywhere. It protects us and prevents enormous amounts of waste. It's a game changer.
All this increased transparency leads us straight to the growing importance of ethics. These days, wholesalers and retailers are being held accountable for a lot more than just price and whether something's in stock.
And what's so fascinating is that some of the most successful companies out there have built their entire brand around this idea. They've figured out that being ethical isn't just good for the world, it's actually great for business.
Trader Joe's is just a fantastic case study for this. Their commitment to ethics runs through their entire operation. They donate all of their unsold food, they're actively reducing plastic in their packaging, they ban certain controversial ingredients from their own products, and they work hard to make organic food more affordable. These aren't just empty marketing slogans. They are core business practices that really resonate with their customers.
And so that brings us all the way back to that unseen link in the chain. The decisions a wholesaler makes and the ethical standards they choose to uphold have a direct impact on the products we buy and really the kind of world we create with our money. So the next time you're shopping, it's worth asking yourself this question: how much do those invisible choices really matter to you?